Before we get into this episode, there's something that might be of interest that I wanted to tell you about. Scene and Heard, who run this podcast, have been asked by Scotland Food and Drink to undertake a strategic review of the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards. Now, these Excellence Awards have been going for almost 20 years and are a huge mainstay of the food and drink sector. But it's time to ensure that they're still relevant. So if you have ever been involved in the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards, or even if you've ever had an opinion about them, we would love for you, please, to complete our survey. So if you go to the On Farm Twitter, which is at @on_farm UK, and click the link in the bio, there will be a tab in there that will take you to the survey, and it should only take you a very short while to complete, but we would be enormously grateful. Hello and welcome to the On Farm podcast. We are doing things a bit differently today. This is the first in what we're calling a mini series of briefer podcast episodes that are slightly different. We're calling them On Farm Helps because what we're trying to do is provide a bit of help and advice during these tough times. I'm joined today by Monty. Hi, Monty.
Hi, Anna. Monty
and I, if you don't already know, run a PR and marketing business together called Scene and Heard, and we set up On Farm back in January. We haven't really talked about ourselves at all, and we don't really intend to, but what we want to do today is to provide you with some hints and advice and some of our expertise for managing some of your PR and marketing during these tough times. Hopefully next week we'll cover perhaps HR, and then we've got a couple more episodes planned after that. So really these are just bite-sized chunks to try and help you navigate the coronavirus and lockdown. Monty, perhaps you can kick off with some of your observations about how things have kind of changed within our sector over recent weeks.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone needs us to really tell them how difficult and challenging this unprecedented period has been. I suppose the interesting thing has been that with all the challenges, there have been some opportunities, and I'm thinking of clients who have embraced or boosted their delivery services, etc. But yeah, it's not been easy, and hopefully we've got some tips and hints and tricks up our sleeve that might help. I guess one of my main things has been I've been doing a lot of social media of late, and I think that actually if you care to put yourself onto Twitter, for example, the activity on there is ramped up to the nth degree at the moment, and it's a platform to get your voice out there, to promote your business, to take the opportunity to tell people that you're still here and you're still doing whatever it is you might do.
Absolutely, and I suppose the beauty of social media is that it is a two-way conversation. So you can go on and you can get your news out there. So if you're running a different type of service during coronavirus, you can tell people about that. But you can also actually use it to help glean information yourself. So if you want to find out what others are doing, pick up tips, find out what some of the pitfalls, pick of advice as to how they're managing their social media, how they're dealing with feedback. It's very much a two-way thing. You can put information out there, but you can also use it to inform yourself at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we can find reliable people to follow and reliable sources of news on social media, it certainly seems to be the best way to keep up with what's happening and, as I say, to promote your own business. One of the things that I've picked up, again, from social media, which I think is probably useful to anyone listening, is a simple, very simple tip for business continuity, which is when a key worker in particular is going about their everyday tasks, especially repetitive tasks, take your phone out of your pocket, shoot a little film of what you're doing. This could be something that you're doing on a farm, in a workshop, even at your desk if it's something repetitive. A little film of how you go about that task. It's then there for the day that you may not be there. We just don't know what's ahead of us all, and something that can be left for easy handover is a little film.
Yeah, so you kind of mean sort of like a roadmap to your job, so that if somebody's having to fill in for you, they know how you do it, what tools you use, and they can, as far as possible, replicate what you do if you're in isolation or not feeling well.
Correct.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Obviously, we're recording a podcast here. Thankfully, no one can see the state that I'm in at the moment, but my arm is in a sling. I stupidly ended up in the A&E department at the end of last week. I have badly damaged my arm. We are in the middle of lambing here, and yeah, it's been a fast learning curve for anyone who's been prepared to help me. And I just wish that was some of the advice that I had followed, which was to just, take a little film, show what you do, and then pass that on. Here's exactly how I feed these animals. Here's exactly how I carry out this task. Here's exactly how I even, how I work this spreadsheet, whatever it might be. Simple thing.
The point there is that actually that sort of activity is going to be relevant way beyond coronavirus. It's a lesson that we've learned from being in these weird circumstances, but actually it's a lesson that we can carry through. And I suppose that's kind of what I'm picking up too from a lot of our clients in particular, but far broader than that. So we've got a hashtag campaign running on our on-farm Twitter at the moment, which is hashtag on-farm open for business. And that's really highlighting the people who are still open, still doing things. But actually what we're also seeing using that hashtag is some of the innovation that's coming through. People who've never before done delivery service, people who've never before dealt with members of the public. They might just deal with restaurateurs or wholesalers, are doing things differently, all within the guidelines, obviously, but they're doing things differently to open up new markets. I was actually just chatting to a client this morning who said somebody had been in and she'd said she'd been driving past the end of the farm road for years and had never actually stopped to shop there. But now she's thinking about the importance of local produce and supporting local business. And it's all because they're getting out there and they're telling people what they're doing and they're doing innovative things. And I think that's really coming forward from a lot of different people, that it's not quite business as usual because people are coming up with new, fresh ideas.
I think the other thing that flows from that is when it comes to events, conferences, that sort of thing, this situation is forcing people to be innovative in how they deliver, and we're seeing the rise of web-based technology and web-based conferencing. Obviously, that's all because the current situation means we need to. But actually, we can help people, clients and others, to look at how these technologies could roll out to be used regardless of the lockdown situation, as it were. These things could be used for events to reach much wider audiences than they might actually attract through footfall through a door anyway. So I mean, obviously there's so much to be concerned about at the moment, but some of these lessons that we learn, they could be long-standing and they could be a great thing for businesses and in that case events in the future, regardless of where we're left with lockdowns, etc.
We're already talking, aren't we, to some people about how we can use podcasting to not replace their events because they're irreplaceable, but to try and convey some of the important messaging that many of these events convey that this year they won't be able to. And podcasting is a great platform for being able to do that. So anybody who does have any kind of event who's thinking that perhaps a podcast might help to plug some of the gap, please do get in touch and let us know. I think another thing with regard to opportunity, which actually my dad has kind of demonstrated to me this week, is the chance to learn something. We've heard people, almost half jokingly saying, "Oh, I'm going to take this opportunity to learn how to speak German." It doesn't necessarily need to be something like that. But, my dad's doing an online course now in meteorology. Anybody out there could do an online course in wherever they think their skills are lacking. So it might be bookkeeping, might be social media, do a social media course, learn how to master Instagram, learn how to do something else that ultimately when we come out of the other side of this will help their business because they'll have upskilled themselves.
in some ways, we are really lucky in the rural sector in that we're all, to some extent, it's not business as usual. That's the wrong expression to use because these are really unusual times. But we're all getting on with the job. We're all pretty much, in some ways, super busy. I really feel sorry. I really feel genuinely sorry for people who are in a situation where, either they haven't got work or they can't work or they're cooped up and they've got no real escape from this lockdown. But I guess, again, that's maybe where something like learning a new skill or whatever, yeah, absolutely, I agree. And if it benefits your business when we come out of this, good.
The term a lot of people use is future-proofing, isn't it? To think about, well, what will my business need of me when we come out of this? Will I need to have new skills to approach things differently? Will my staff need to do something differently? And thinking, well, what can I do now that might help that? And actually, again, we've had 2 or 3 calls from clients to say, I've been putting off redeveloping my website for years because it just always seems to drop to the bottom of the pile. Now I'm in a situation that obviously I'd rather not be in, but I am reassessing, and I've realised that now is the time for me just to get going and to get that website freshened up so that when we are out the other side, I can really kick off ahead rather than then having to start thinking about, well, what do I need to do for dealing with the second half of 2020? You may not have time to do it. If you're in a business that is frantically delivering things to all corners of Scotland, then obviously it's less applicable to you. But there are businesses out there that are prevented from trading in the same way that they normally would, and they might just have the opportunity to think, right, I need to really take the bull by the horns and do some planning. Yeah,
and of course, just going with your website example there, again, in this situation, what's important? How do you get your message out there? People are, they can't just rock up to your offices and see whatever. They can't just go to an event and pick up leaflets and literature about what you do. So, this is probably as important a time as there ever been to make sure that your website reflects your business and what you're all about.
We've been saying in some of our newsletters to our clients, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one that's most adaptable to change. I think that was Charles Darwin who said that, and it's so true. In these times we've got to adapt and innovate, do things differently, do things in a clever way. And I suppose that leads in a sense to what you were saying earlier about the video clips, Monty. Yes, it's really important to create a video clip to show people how to do your job if you're incapacitated. But actually, why not use video clips for your social media? I spoke to somebody from the Royal Highland Education Trust this morning, and she was saying, we can't get out and about anymore. So we've got children, the children of farmers and volunteers who are out there creating little videos for us that we can then use for education. So, make your own videos, tell the world what you do and tell the world how you're adapting and put those videos up online. My daughter's the only farming child in her primary school, so the teacher got in touch with me and said, could you create some videos about what's happening on the farm, and we can use that as part of an education plan that we've got for May. So it's about thinking outside the box and doing things differently. And just briefly, going back to social media, there are businesses out there who don't have a social media presence at the moment, and they're probably thinking, gosh, now is really not the time to start one, because if I do, I'll have no followers and nobody will hear my message anyway. But that's
exactly
not true,
the opposite.
actually. Yeah. Exactly the opposite. You might not have any followers, but you'll know plenty of people who do. So piggyback on what they're doing. Tag Seen and Heard if you're on Twitter, for example, and we will then share your information to our audience, as will, I'm sure, many other organisations, depending on what you do. But, NFU Scotland, Scotland Food and Drink, they're all examples of organisations that will share your news. So you don't have to have any followers. You can effectively piggyback on other people's to get your important messages out, whether it's something simple like opening hours or something much more interesting like, the ways in which you've innovated. Other people can help you to share those messages and get things across too.
I think one of the key interesting things about our business model as Seen and Heard, and I was chatting to a client about this the other day, is we have been home-based and home working, if you want to call it that, since day one. That's how we operate. The whole team scattered throughout rural Scotland, mostly on farms actually, but all scattered, but all effectively working as a team and all effectively working on behalf of our clients. That we've always done that. So I guess we haven't had to adapt, but we've always known that it can be done without the presence of an office and what have you. Makes it difficult when you can't get face to face with clients, no doubt about it. But yeah, not the same. But we can. Well, yeah, there are ways of doing it, and podcasts. I know that it's you, Anna, that's been involved in most of our on farm podcasts. But what a great way to tell a story! What a great way to capture someone's ears, as it were. It's not just do you want to see this short film? Oh, I don't really have time to watch a short film. It really engages people when they sit down to listen to a podcast and listen to whether it's a story or what's now called knowledge transfer, how to do something, how to get the most out of a product or service. So absolutely, this is at this time in particular why more people could be embracing these podcasts as a way of, and that's, I suppose, it is a plug for us. But in some ways, you can go out there and buy the tech and do it yourself as well, should you wish to. We've got the platform. I hope we've got the platform and the followers, etc. That gets the message out there, but. You could start off with a set of headphones and a mic if you wanted, and maybe you'll get some listeners too.
We make a point in all of the on-farm podcasts of looking at the positives, and today we've been trying to look at the positives too, but we would be negligent, I think, if we didn't recognise the fact that it's not always positive. Some people, yes, many people who are in the midst of lambing might not have noticed much of a difference because they're used to self-isolation at this time of year. But there will be people out there who are struggling with loneliness or because of financial challenges brought about by this situation. So I think we really need to acknowledge the fact that that's okay. It's okay to be struggling and to admit that you need help. And we've been fortunate over goodness knows how many years now to be working alongside RSABI, who do an amazing job to take care of people who are suffering any kind of hardship within the rural sector, whether that be financial or family related or health related, or in this case now mental health and loneliness is going to be a big issue. So I just wanted to highlight that RSABI are out there to help. You can pick up the phone. Their helpline number is 0300 111 4166. So if you are worried about anybody in your family or your own mental health or your next door neighbour who you now can't visit because of lockdown, please give them a call and they'll do everything they can to help. I think that's really important that we highlight that because people are innovating all over the place and some people are really quite enthused by the opportunity this is giving them, but that it's not easy for everybody. I
completely agree. Where we are here, the next farm along is an NHS A&E nurse. She readily admits that she hasn't been the busiest up till now as far as patients are concerned. They are mega busy preparing. The next farm that way is a chap who is a mental health nurse. He already is busy, and it's anxiety, it's all the unknown of this situation, and yeah, the thing about that is we're all in that, we're all feeling that, and it's okay. And goodness knows, I think we all try to put on a strong face and what have you, but it is hard. This is hard. This is unprecedentedly hard. And thank goodness for the likes of RSABI and others that are out there that can maybe just be a listening voice. So I hope everyone has found this at least semi-interesting. We're trying our best to help. We'll maybe try and roll one of these out, at least one per week. and hopefully you'll find them useful. But please do get in touch. If you've got any ideas, any useful advice that you feel we could share with the listeners, anything that you think might be really particularly useful to a rural audience, but all things considered, please just get in touch. You'll find us at On Farm UK on Twitter. You can email us via the Scene and Heard website. We're happy to hear from you, and hopefully you've been happy to hear this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Monty. Totally reiterate that. We have a website. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter if you just look for On Farm. On Farm stands for Food, Agriculture and Rural Matters. So any businesses that fall within that remit, we'd love to hear from you. And as Monty said, if you need help and advice, get in touch with Seen and Heard, but you can get in touch with us through that On Farm link. So the key message is we are here to help you. So please let us know what is helpful to listen to.